I know it's hard to want what you can't have. Happy Wednesday, everyone. As the heat wave continues in the east, it was so hot in Washington, D.C., President Biden's temperature actually got into the single digits. Meanwhile, the AP claims that at a fundraiser last week, President Biden didn't freeze on stage, but that he paused for 7 seconds. Okay, I guess that's another way of saying the exact same thing. The next time I go to the supermarket to get my ice cream, I'll go to the paused food aisle. A new poll finds that a majority of Hispanics support the deportation of illegal immigrants. Well, that's one way to get rid of your mother-in-law. A recent study ranked San Francisco as America's worst-run city. It's so bad, Alcatraz is offering tours of San Francisco.
That was good.
James Carville said he'd bet that Trump is a no-show for the upcoming debate. If Carville loses the bet, he'll pay $100, but if he wins, he gets his ring back from Frodo.
Wow.
Nationwide insurance has dropped coverage for over 100,000 American pets. Not my problem, said one woman.
He's a friend.
Two climate activists desecrated the 5,000-year-old Stonehenge monument with orange paint. Take a look at the damage. Apparently, the arresting officer for Justin Timberlake's DUI didn't know who the pop star was. For a fleeting moment, Timberlake understood what it's like to be Steve Doocy.
Just getting all.
He's asleep right now. And for the second straight month, no orders have been placed for the Boeing 737 MAX. That's because Chris Christie now gets his food delivered by an Airbus A320. All right, monologue time. Settle down, you animals. Welcome to the hoax, where in the run-up to the election, our media circles the wagons around a dithering Joe Biden to convince us that what we see with our own eyes isn't real. This year's hoax even comes with a whole new buzz term, cheap fake, a word that allows the left to confuse people with deep fake without actually lying. It's like when I say my pool boys are tied up at work. Thank you. Thank you, perverts. But it's now a phrase that in one day seems to be everywhere among the talking heads who impersonate journalists for a living. And not in a fun way, like when I stole Britt Hume's identity to buy a human kidney on the dark web. And I already have my own. Roll it.
There's a growing and insidious trend in right-wing media to take highly misleading and selectively edited videos of President Biden and then use those videos to spread messages virally to cast doubt on President Biden's fitness for office.
The Republican accounts circulating many of the clips responded, claiming the videos are unedited and promised to keep posting them.
A lie.
It's really one angle, not.
We've been worried for years about AI deepfakes, that computer-generated images are going to trick people into believing something that's totally false. Cheap fakes are a little bit simpler. They're cheap. They're just distorted, out-of-context videos, chopped up in certain ways, constructed in certain ways. That's what we're seeing.
Ugh, isn't that adorable? It's almost as if they hold us to higher standards than they hold themselves. Like when Geraldo once told me a mustache would make me look like a pervert. But CBS took it a step further, tacking a digitally altered video note to a clip featuring Joe that was actually 100% real, I guess to protect Joe. Well, okay, CBS, try that trick here. Is this video digitally altered?
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Jill Biden's husband. Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure we're going to introduce you.
Hold on, it could be digitally altered. Let's just run it again and listen.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Jill Biden's husband. Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure you're going to do shit.
No, I'm sorry, kids. That's real. That's the leader of the free world. I wouldn't let him lead a conga line at a nursing home. Now, as we've often said, the louder the left screams about something, the greater the chance they're doing it themselves. So as we're told that Joe is as sharp as the inside of a soup can lid, always behind closed doors, of course, we're also told that all the videos of Joe stumbling and slurring are an elaborate hoax, which poses a key question. Are you me? This has to be the lamest cover-up since Dana applied black shoe polish on Jesse's bald spot. Remember who these anti-hoax Ghostbusters are? The same grifters who pushed the Fine People hoax, in which the media falsely claimed Trump endorsed Nazis. That was Biden's sole reason for running. Even worse, it gave Dems license to claim that 70 million people voted for a Nazi lover, which led to a Trump derangement that kept them from assessing the sad state of the country under Biden. That entire hoax is the foundation for the last 4 years. Think about it. They didn't. And now they want us to consider context for their guy who's clearly unfit for office. What is the larger context for an old man who can't walk? Gravity? But that was only the start of the hoaxes launched by the dementia-crats. Remember the drinking bleach hoax where they claimed Trump endorsed drinking bleach to cure COVID? They practically were telling us he'd invented the Clorox martini, which isn't bad with a twist of lemon. Then there was the koi pond hoax in which Trump dumping a box of fish food into a pond was supposed to be a diplomatic gaffe on par with your pants when meeting the Pope. That was fake. Remember the migrant kids in cages hoax? That one had AOC crying like someone took away her crayons. Of course, they left out that this program started under Obama. And honestly, my experience with kids in cages is that they grow up to be far more responsible. There was the Russian pee tape hoax. Sorry, the only president being peed on is Joe Biden by Joe Biden. There's the don't say gay bill hoax, which never said don't say gay. Apparently, it was the media conflating gays with forcing sexually explicit books on kids. Then there was the Border Patrol whipping migrants hoax. Nobody was getting whipped. Those were reins to control horses. Anyone who owns a glue factory knows that. Covington kids. I can only hope their lawsuit payout means they can hire Don Lemon to wash their helicopters. Speaking of kids, remember who the media told us appeared at a football game in blackface? Turns out the kid was just sporting his team's colors. So whose face was red after that incident? Not the media, because even if it's not real, there's racism somewhere. How about Russian collusion? Everyone from Adam Schiff to Rachel Maddow tried to convince us that Trump was a Russian asset. But as soon as that Russian asset left office, Putin attacked Ukraine again. If Trump was a Russian spy, he'd get horrible reviews on Yelp. Then, of course, there's the laptop when 51 intel officers told us Hunter's computer was Russian disinfo. They were lying and they knew it. Like when my scoutmaster said we were required to share a sleeping bag. And remember this clown?
We shouldn't look at it as anything other than a Russian disinformation operation. But even if you're open to it, the substance of it is still the story of Joe Biden loving his son.
That's journalism? It's like Edward R. Murrow after being hit with a frying pan in the face. Then there's COVID. We were told it came from bat soup in a wet market. Hey, Fauci, that's the best you could come up with? You caused a catastrophe for the entire globe, and people think you're a hero? Millions died, and I can no longer get bat burgers? So as we enter another hoax season, remember, it's not you, it's them. They're the engine behind this BS. No wonder they have to feed The View so much. It's a runaway train fueled by cow. Let's welcome tonight's guest. She's got ice in her veins, which is weird because it's supposed to be blood. Host of the Morgan Ortega Show on SiriusXM, Morgan Ortega. She models bikinis and hates liberal weenies. GOP spokeswoman Elizabeth Pitko. She's like Ozempic, always on TV and popular with fat guys. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Kat Tipp. We don't want to say how huge he is, but there's no way around it. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion Tyrus. Morgan, don't you find it shocking how the media suddenly cares about context? Something that didn't matter whenever a Republican or anybody in the media who's from the right says something, they'll snatch it out, they'll put it out there and call you a racist. What say you, racist?
I've probably been called that before. What I don't understand, yes, they do this. What I don't understand about this White House is why are you drawing attention to these videos? You know, by like calling them cheap fakes, you're forcing another day or two in the news cycle for everybody to talk about it and to debate. Was it edited? Was it not edited? It was clearly not edited, as you just said. So I think it's stupid on a communications level. And then also, like, I don't even know what a cheap fake is. That's like a Chinese purse that we see outside being sold on Fifth Avenue, or like Jesse Waters' toupee.
Yes! I'll have you know, though, that he spends thousands on that toupee.
It's not cheap, you're right.
Yeah, he has its own little sleeping quarters in the green room. Elizabeth, welcome to the show. First time. Glad to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Great. It seems like they realize that they can't hide Joe forever now. They can't control him, so now they have to call out every kind of thing that he does because they can't hide him in the basement. What do you think?
Right. The problem is we're also calling out every single thing that he does. And I hate the Democrats for a lot of reasons. Now I hate them more because I swore to myself I'd never use this term, but here we are. This is gaslighting. Like, it's that simple. We're all kind of watching him not know where he's going or being led off stage by a former president, or I'm not going to, you know, confirm or deny, but maybe even doing some stuff in his pants that he shouldn't. So for me, it's just, I don't know why, like you said, why were we calling attention to it? Maybe just move away from it and hope to God that the Republicans don't notice. Yeah,
it's too late, though. Hey, Kat, welcome back.
Hey. Thank you.
Yes. What do you make of what Biden just said in that break where he went, I mean, you know, if it's your grandfather or anybody, it's kind of cute, but
no, if it was my grandfather, I'd take him to the hospital.
Yes.
My grandpa has 10 years on Joe Biden. He doesn't act like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and also I guess the defense of saying this, like, video is not real. Like, okay, even if it was a fake video, I feel like that defense implies that this video alone would be the only reason anyone would be concerned about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they're calling this out, they're bringing more attention to it, but it's not like there's not countless more. I mean, every time he comes out and speaks, there's another example of something like this. And that'll be live. So I don't understand. There's really no defense. It is gaslighting. I completely agree with that. They're trying to make us question the reality of what we're seeing with their own eyes. That's what gaslighting it is. It does get overused a lot. Whenever, like, a guy doesn't like you, sometimes girls are like, he's gaslighting me. Like, no, he just doesn't like you. But, and
Are you gaslighting me?
No, like, no, not today. So, again, as if those videos from just this week, that's the only thing that should be concerning, as if we haven't been watching this for years.
It's almost like, Tyrus, they should be pointing out when he's normal.
Yeah.
That's what they should be doing, because that's the bug in the system. The system is the abnormal. The bug is when all of a sudden he has a moment of clarity.
Yeah, well, when he does, they'll run it ad nauseum. We just got to wait for that moment. It's only been 3 years in, so. And I agree with everything that Kat said but one. You don't take Grandpa to the hospital. You take him to the home. You got to drop him off. You know, you got to tell him this is the new Oval Office. And, you know, and your orderly is Secretary of State, and the lady who brings Jell-O is the new First Lady. She's going to be nice. And that's what you do. And then you make sure the door locks from the outside. And you just keep them in there. But the fact that they're even trying to defend this is as if we haven't been here.
Yeah.
he wasn't this slick in his 40s, okay?
Yeah.
He's always been, if he wasn't stumbling through something, he was lying about it. I mean, the guy's had the greatest life outside of maybe a Marvel superhero. He's met everyone. He's cured everything. He's saved, what's the count up to now? 17 drowning people just casually walking to work in D.C.
Black children.
Yeah, and they were all black.
Yes.
You know, because the one white one didn't make it because, well, that's what happens to oppressors when they can't swim. So it's just the patheticness of him. Yeah, some oppressors in the audience tonight, yeah. I suggest.
How dare you? This is Juneteenth.
I suggest y'all wear life jackets if Biden's around. But it's just, they have nothing else to run on.
Mm-hmm.
So all they have to do is he's limping to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. He'll be in the dolly when they wheel him across the finish line, and then they'll dump him. Like soon as all of a sudden, all this is going to come out.
Yeah.
And then they'll replace him because they just need him to win.
They just need him to cross.
Just cross the line. You can croak after that or do whatever you want to do. Just cross the line because we can't change it now.
Yeah.
The whole campaign is no Trump.
Yeah. On that note, let's move on, shall we? Okay, Greg. Democrat politicians brag about men who do drag.
If you'll be in the New York area and would like tickets to see Gutfeld, go to foxnews.com/Gutfeld and click on the link to join our studio audience.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.